what ends up happening when the coach is given the very last opportunity? We always hear this phrase when the team starts winning all of a sudden, and the whole team starts saying, we went back to fundamentals. So I have a Mateoism. What is a business? A business is people in specific roles, and inside that role, they have a set of functions with processes designed to deliver value to their markets. People then use tools to organize their work, and the right businesses now use AI-based tools to scale and automate those repetitive tasks, those well-defined tasks, wherever possible. Those are inescapable fundamentals of business. And what has happened is we got really, really fat and happy in the late 90s and the early aughts. And we have these businesses that still had BS jobs just to have jobs. The transition to AI is not AI taking someone's job away. Robots are coming for their jobs, not ours. We got to stop doing the jobs of robots.
We're literally just going to jump in. Mateo and I have been chatting, and like this is a completely off the hook, ready to go episode that we've decided to put together this morning. And
Fantastic. It's
Mateo,
always a pleasure, sir.
exactly, just great to be on the call with you. And I think that what we were just talking about, like we can start the conversation there. I made the mention to you earlier that I don't need my team for their intelligence today. I need them for their judgment, right? And I had a mentor years ago who she said, as a leader, you have a gun pointed to your head. There's one bullet in it, and you are the one with your finger on the trigger, and you pull the trigger every time you make a decision.
Yep.
And she goes, you don't own the decision, you own the decision-making process. And I think that's
Exactly.
kind of the state that we're in right now, but I would love to get your take on that and like
So,
where the human fits into this whole paradigm of
so,
artificial intelligence.
so I have a few things. So I got a tattoo here. It says, kill the ego. And it's facing outwards. So if you'll let me, I'll tell an anecdote. This is how I've weaponized that.
Okay, perfect.
So,
Perfect.
so we're in a state now. Let's do a background, right? We're in a fundamental transition of people who thought they were ahead of the curve, overpromised and undelivered on their AI demands, right? And now, what do I have? AI profile picture taking for some app because someone didn't listen to Satya. Satya said, the CEO of Microsoft, almost 10 years ago now, everyone is in a software business plus whatever business they do. And nobody was paying attention. Nobody got it. And AI comes along, and now people are starting to get it. They realize that, oh, I don't need a chat bot. I need automated, intelligent, digital employees who have the authority to do stuff on behalf of my human employees. But my human employees have to train those digital employees. So if you're an egocentric leader, you've already missed. You've already laid off your X number of thousands of people. And by doing so, you flushed all of that tribal information and all of that opportunity to automate and scale and beat your opponents in the marketplace.
Well, all right. So let's talk about like enterprise architecture then.
Sure.
Because if I start to think about how my business, anybody's business, and like our clients' businesses, there's about 5% of what they do that is really core to the business. The other
Absolutely.
95% is like stuff that you could buy off the shelf. And I don't mean that to be dismissive of it, but
No, not
like
at all.
my accounting, sir, like there's nothing special by how we do accounting. We are not an accounting
Right.
business, right?
Right. Right.
Um, so finding those services, and like we've seen this with the SaaSification of the world, the ability,
Yeah,
like in
exactly.
Paul Graham's dissertation or essay on like software eating the world, I think that Satya is kind of like continuing that on. We're seeing
Yes,
the
absolutely.
exploration of like AI, Claude Code, everything, like all the coding
Yeah.
aspects to get.
Yes. Yes, and just two seconds.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, and we have to treat everybody as an end user, including our employees. That's where he was going with that. But go ahead.
Okay, okay, okay. But I think that you are hitting on a point where we do need our employees to do those roles, because there is something about how you communicate with your teams, how you work with your employees, and the actual thing that we need from people isn't intelligence today. It is the judgment that they bring,
Is
the
right.
experience, the context outside of it, the extra bit that you can't see in the data. Because just like how
Yep.
the English language is abstract and unfortunately not as precise as like could possibly be.
Right.
Mathematics, even in itself, is built on certain assumptions that you can't get away from. Um,
Right.
and
Inescapable logic traps. Yeah.
exactly right, like the Gödel's incompleteness theorem. Kind of just you could literally the world could all fall apart if one of the assumptions is wrong. But
Right. Right.
so we miss out on the well, the imperfection of our language, the imperfection of our tools is there, but the human
Right.
element is able to jump those bounds. And I think that's where we still play that role in the work is in that creative expression.
So what happens
Okay.
when you're not firing your coach, but your team isn't winning? What ends up happening when the coach is given the very last opportunity? We always hear this phrase when the team starts winning all of a sudden, and the whole team starts saying, "We went back to fundamentals," and they interview the next player. We went back to fundamentals, and then we went to the next player. We went back to fundamentals. So I have a Mateoism.
Okay.
What is it? What is a business? A business is people in specific roles, and inside that role, they have a set of functions with processes designed to deliver value to their markets. People then use tools to organize their work, right? And the right businesses now use AI based tools to scale and automate those repetitive tasks, those well defined tasks, wherever possible. Those are inescapable fundamentals of business. And what has happened is we got really, really fat and happy in the late 90s and the early aughts. And we have these businesses that still had BS jobs, jobs just to have jobs.
Yeah.
The transition to AI is not AI taking someone's job away. Like I said in our last episode, robots are coming for their jobs, not ours. We got to stop doing the jobs of robots. So if business is people in specific roles that have expertise and you need them to troubleshoot inside their expertise, now we're talking Star Trek. So my job is for the 8 hours on a Tuesday that I'm coming into your office or logging in remotely. What do I have to solve? What problems do I have to solve? What processes do I have to optimize so that I can hand it off to these tools to make 100 of me or 10 of me, right? Turn me into a larger scale thing. So businesses who have clearly defined business functions, great organization, great culture, they're able to more rapidly adopt these technologies and pivot. Businesses that are egocentric or fear driven, everyone's got to come back to the office. Like, yeah, right, dude. Like they're losing out because they're still back in 1990s mode.
100%. All right, so let's talk about the processes. We previously this is one of the challenges of us having such good conversations before the show. Um, but at the same time, what we're looking for is processes and then managing by exception, right? Like having ways that the
Yeah.
agents are kicking things back up to the humans. My challenge to that is then the next stage of evolution for us to be managing is creating agents that take care of the exceptions, right? So
Yes.
that instead of 100 tickets that I see a day, I'm only seeing 10 and the agent's handling 90 more of them. And then of those 10, or as we scale the first set to 1,000, I'm then seeing another 100. And
Mm,
so getting an agent that handles 90 of that, so I'm no longer seeing, 90, I'm seeing only
right.
10 again. But
Right.
that seems to only correct on the back end of the problem.
Okay. Imagine the ITIL chart. Imagine the
Okay.
SDLC workflow. Put a graph editor, please put a graphic over my face. Okay.
we can do safe
Or I'll
agile, we
have
can
them
do the
floating. Like,
ITIL.
here's ITIL, here's SDLC. Like, you know
Okay.
what I mean? So in those workflows, at sometimes the initiating component is the reactive component. I'm reacting to something not being optimized or a failure. And then when I make those changes, now I'm on the proactive side. There's two phases of the moon, waxing and waning. So depending on which side of the pool you're standing in, the deep end or the shallow end, the whole goal of automation, especially, and I am specifically using the term automation here, not AI, not the amalgamous, whatever, right? I have a specific set of outcomes that I'm training my tools and my agentic pathways to go and execute all of these things. When those fail, I have to react to that. But now that triggers the human to be proactive and say, this failed at this point. What can we do now to prevent this failure next time? Not just correct what's happening here, right? What logic can we introduce?
Yeah.
So you're getting the patch, the repair, the fix, but you're also getting the proactive, the thing humans are best at. Three-dimensional, polymathic thought all at once, considering all of the endpoints in a specific role in a function.
It's an interesting paradigm to play in because now the human is both responsible for the exception, resolving the exception, but then additionally
Mhm.
resolving the process failure at the same time. And like
Absolutely.
it,
And and in an engineer's brain, let me tell you, it's the most difficult thing. So from a leadership perspective, I have mountains of practical experience in this. This is exactly what I was doing at Amelia, which before I was on the IP center side, the IP soft.
okay.
So those were, we called them digital engineers. They were digital employees. We didn't call them automations. We didn't call them whatever. Those digital employees were making cognitive decisions based on what their permission set, what they were allowed to operate on inside their environment, and then choosing on their own which scripts to run. And when a script failed, that automaton reported back to the human who wrote that script or anyone inside that pool that says, hey, I ran into a problem. Here's the exception. Oh, and by the way, because you gave me all of the instructions for troubleshooting why my own stuff fails, here's where it broke. Here's the line of code where it broke. I need someone to take a look at this so this doesn't happen again next time. Now, we incentivized when you would fix a broken automation.
Okay.
That's how you made bonus. When
Haha,
you
yes.
came up with your own automation, or you came to us and said, hey, we have a market. Here's some sample automations. I got this sample gear. I started throwing these commands against this sample gear. Nobody's doing this. Now you're creating a market solution space. And what that platform and what everybody else is starting to learn now is your tribal knowledge, those problems you're solving with inside your processes stay with inside your company. So if you're doing things right, your people are your mother effing IP. And the tools that you're using are the solutions you're scaling that IP. You need these experts. So companies are going to get smaller, right? But we need CFOs to stop firing all the IT guys first. And we need CISOs to get really, really aggressive.
Whoa,
Because
yeah, yeah.
because the, because the more agents we introduce in an environment, I'm sorry. Okay, so thank you for allowing me to finish that thought. Here's Mateo's get real point. CFOs, CEOs, boards, you need to think about how agentic is going to affect your secured operating environment.
I mean, we can dive into that even deeper, but I
I'm just,
think you're
I just,
hitting on a really important point here.
we need them to be on VPNs, man,
Well,
at
you need
least.
a look, the secure let we'll dive into this real quick.
That's a whole other episode. I
It
get it.
is.
But
Security is a whole other episode because if we start talking about mythos and really just that next
no,
tier of models that is
I'm just,
coming
I
out,
just want simple. I just want simple. I just want simple.
100%. But I think we cannot bypass what you just shared around like your simple point of like your humans are your IP.
Yeah.
But what your humans are doing, what your humans are creating is building out the automations through their practice of their expertise, right? Like your
Yeah.
CFO is doing the
Yes.
things that CFOs do, and
Yeah.
they're the ones who can apply the leverage on like building out that component of it.
Sure.
And I was talking to
Sure. But
somebody.
as soon as there's downward pressure on a stock price, as soon as there's upward pressure from an investor, they fire the most expensive people on the staff first, and they always get the IT teams. Like they got to stop that crap. That's my own personal little. I got this cross right here, and I'm carrying it through the streets
Yeah,
right now.
I get it, and at the same time, I'm also like, you know what? I think IT should really be, we're starting to see IT being buried in individual business units, right? Like we always go through this
It should
flex
be
of like,
totally embedded. No, it should totally be
it should
embedded.
totally be embedded. It's
Yeah,
We're no
100%.
longer at a point where IT as a central function should really be
No,
as expressive, right? So maybe your core kind of like infrastructure pieces that kind of like play out across, but anybody who's doing data engineering, anybody who's doing software engineering, yep, exactly.
see you. We see you. You're seen.
Yeah,
We see you.
exactly. Um, but the other side of this is what I'm noticing is that the teams that are being the most effective with AI are smaller teams. And I think that
Absolutely.
there's two things that are occurring. One, the tool is kind of making execution ridiculously cheap, right? But then the second thing is that the ability for you to communicate what's going on falls down after you hit five, six, really six, seven, eight people. It's the two pizza problem that Amazon
Yep.
kind of describes.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like we're now seeing, how much information individuals can really consume, create, and move around on a regular basis is just exploding because of what they can do with agents as well.
Right. When I talk about security,
Yeah.
um, I have notes. I made notes because, again, this was supposed to be a audience. This was supposed to be a touch point, and it literally exploded into an episode. We were what
Exactly.
12 minutes into a chat, and we're like, you know what? Let's just go for it. Um, so just really quickly, give me just one quick second. I did have notes. So I wanted to talk about the three classifications for agents. Okay, so this is going to be for the leaders who need a quick decision matrix. Like these are your three bullets. And this you can pass this down to your frontline leaders. There are three classes of agents. And these are Mateo's classes. I haven't vetted this. This AI did not come with this. This is just mountains of experience. I put, I don't know, 20,000 digital employees online in like 5.5 years. Like I've been through this a few times. What we're seeing now, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I love to be told I'm wrong. Um, Built-in software or system level agents. So we're now getting software where agents are built in, platforms where agents are built in. Office 365 has had agentic style stuff for 11 years. This is not new. Platform services on demand. Now, this is where I need us to be very, very secure. So there's a lot of bring your own device stuff going on, and a lot of people staying away from VDI, virtual desktop interfaces. There is no better time right now than to reintroduce VDI or thin client type of logins when we're running automations, because we don't want customer data, we don't want regulatory information going out over a naked internet connection.
Yeah.
That is what I mean about generic base level security. And those services are on demand. These are your Victors. These are your Claudes. These are things that run out on the endpoint here, and they require my authorization and credentials to do all of these things. So you can understand very, very quickly how all of these hackers are getting all of our corporate finance information or all of our other information because of very simple man-in-the-middle attacks, because their systems are not double blind exposed. So when you run a virtual desktop interface, that's inside your environment. And then when that computer that's accessing that virtual desktop interface is on your corporate VPN, your data stays your data. And then third, rogue. These are unapproved endpoint use cases. So when people just use their own personal license for Fireflies, This is, those types of things. They have their annotations turned on, and you think it's completely a-okay. But for rogue stuff, we have to educate our people. This is why you need at least a personal VPN. For the platform services on demand, these are the orchestrating layers. These are the. It started with dang it, what was that pay to play? Zapier,
Was that
Zapier,
yeah.
and then and also these other enterprise level. Think UiPath, Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, those types of tools. They, we need to have that kind of secure networking for those, and then we'll be operating these system level ones that we as IT people have seen for almost 20 years now. There's been just mountains of that. Yeah. So that's what I meant about the three classifications, and especially the one in the middle where we've got clients or we've got seats, and we're orchestrating my own personal or my users' logins as the agent. So the agent's logging into the LinkedIn and doing all this stuff with Sales Navigator and grabbing all that data and doing all of that stuff. We need them to be in the securest of secure tunnels, and we need to be 100% on top of any kind of rogue apps that are running.
Oh,
Thanks. And if you like this content, like and subscribe. I do believe Mr. Finley is at 100 episodes with this rogue episode going live. Thanks.
dude, I love you, man. That's absolutely great. I yeah, as a YouTuber, I'm
Not
definitely,
not not a sponsor. Not a sponsor.
a
Should be.
little espresso. Definitely
Yeah.
go along with that. Eh, I think you're hitting on a really strong point as far as like these agents are actually borrowing our credentials
Right.
inside of the organization, right? So you want to be aware of what they're doing, how they're behaving, right? Like we are just getting into what's reliable desktop computing, right? Like the agent taking over your computer, and seeing that. And I think from an enterprise standpoint, that is both amazing and additionally frightening at the same time. If you think
Terrifying.
about like your typical user, as soon as they see it do one thing, they'll kind of like go and get their coffee and allow it to do 20
Mhm.
other things, but it has
Mhm.
full permission to be
John,
using your credentials. So,
when was the last time you got a midnight phone call from a CTO or CIO asking help because something really, really bad happened and none of the investors or the market could find out about it? And it was always a security situation. Like, do you do any of that level stuff, or are you more on the dev side?
no, it's been look, we provide a product and like you mentioned some other companies that provide similar services, right? Like we
Yeah.
have
So I'm
basically like
coming.
an agentic platform called Sophia that allows us to
Okay.
operate. So like,
So
yeah, I've received those phone calls. It is mostly a security or deployment issue that really comes down to it.
yeah.
Um,
So I was a solutions architect and I did special team stuff at Cisco and other things. So I, I started consulting when I was 14. And so when you've been in it that long, you just end up with a network of people or people that you went to college with that are now at this level, and they know they can call you. You're a trusted person, right? So from a solutions architecture standpoint, and I did big IT stuff, like WAN and MAN and global internet stuff. So when I get that phone call at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, the first thing I say is, "Well, it's going to cost you $5,000 for me not to tell anybody. I'll do the rest for free."
yeah,
And I'm usually giving them a strategy on how to get out of a situation. But the fear of uh, well, I don't want to offend anybody who of any particular religious order. So the demon of bad behaviors. I'm here to tell you that over 90% of your penetrations come from your former employees, whether it was hostile or not. And when you get lazy about your security and your endpoint security, um, because you wanted to save a few ducats, that is how Target and Home Depot and other people had every single one of their cash registers exposed for God knows how long. That's why there are now professional services you pay $30 a month to that's constantly removing you from data broker services because it's too late. The genie's out of the bottle because too many large corporations were too lackadaisical about how they manage those interfaces. And now we're going to go agentic. And now we're talking real risk exposure because an agent's going to go and do all of these things. And my valued employee, even though they could have done all of the right things, was, that agent went and did whatever it was going to do. And now we have a legal issue. Now we have something we didn't consider before we deployed that agent. Now we can't be ISO certified. Now we have to be kicked off FedRAMP because we didn't think before we acted. Thanks. Remember me this fall. I'm going to be running for Senate. No, I'm kidding.
Please don't.
I,
We
no,
need
no,
you in.
no. I totally sounded like a politician there for a second, like
No,
at
but
the
I think
debate.
you bring up some good points around security, right? Like
I think it beat that horse a bit, though.
well, yeah, we can always beat that horse. And the models are getting better from an agentic standpoint. They're going to be doing more. And at the same time, they're still missing the context and the intent of what's going on. Alignment isn't the problem that has been solved yet, right? Like,
No, absolutely not. And the beautiful aspect of this is so the gross failure of the simple-minded, ego-driven people that adopted AI and just fired their whole teams,
yeah,
thinking that they were going to save tens of millions of dollars. Well, they did in the short term. You got all that labor money back, but now you are way behind much more agile and forward-thinking and culture-centric people who are focused on solving jobs. Listen, here's a message for employees. You're not being paid for 100% of you. That's hard to hear. That's hard for smart people to hear. You're not even being paid to be liked, although that does help. You're being paid for your experience, your expertise, and your capabilities within that job role and the functions that you can execute against. And the people that figure that out, that they're being leased, that they're every single person inside their company is technically a customer, and you need to be your own little salesperson, your own little CEO unto yourself, and give way less F's about having the perfect job. Those people, there's a lot of success. I was completely blown away by how many people our age, Don, are now at Amazon. When I was interviewing at Amazon and telling them that their hair was on fire and they didn't understand what they were doing, when I was interviewing at Google and telling them no after ordering thousands of dollars in catering for lunches, their burnout was exceptional.
yeah,
But now they're in their phase 3 and they get it. They get it. It's not about age. It's not about it's about, I need this set of experiences for this project for this period of time. And how do I now, my job, to switch this into a leadership role, my job is, how do I get anything that can be automated? How do I get anything that needs to be calibrated? Any opportunity for a human to make a mistake, how do I automate that completely out of my effing system so that I have less self-inflicted issues, right? High quality data, high quality output. How do I stop letting my engineers push code because they're going to select the wrong production server or they're going to push to prod from not from QA, right? How do I stop those processes? Well, I have a solution. Would you like to hear my solution?
love to hear your solution.
Fantastic, because I wrote down some notes because I thought we were having an episode and not a chat.
I mean, aren't they the same?
Sort of.
Yeah,
I mean, they are now.
exactly.
And
We're carving new ground here.
instant friendship, by the way. I do appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Also, people, if you ever go to Philadelphia, this is fact. Okay, gyms. If you go to Pattergino's and you think that's a real Philly cheesesteak, one of us is going to fly out there and punch you in the face. It's really not.
I mean, I did tell you where I live,
Jim's,
so
John's House of Pork, like, guys,
but you know what? You gotta try. I don't know if you've been here in a while. D'Angelo's.
I waited in line for 3.5 hours to have D'Angelo's, and I peed a little. It was the truth.
Yeah.
I'm here in Southern California, and we're going to have this talk right now, and I hope this makes the episode. Okay. I'm a bit of a foodie, and one of my side gigs was in Philadelphia, in South New Jersey. We had a little lifestyle magazine called Back Pocket. And I can tell this now. We put in all kinds of high-end ads for products we liked. Nobody ever paid a single dollar for the ad. But what it did is it got us in the top 10 of Apple's mag rack. It was such a hack. It was such a hack. I would write articles on whiskey and bourbon pairings for cigars, and it made it look like Jim Beam was our sponsor, but it gave us such so we started getting into all these higher end restaurants and stuff, and I would write reviews and things like that. It was
Oh,
fantastic. It was totally fantastic.
I love it.
So uh uh here's where I'm going with this. In order for something to be a true Philly cheesesteak, two components absolutely have to be there. You need an Amoroso roll. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And two, you need ribeye. You need shaved ribeye. Okay. What you put on the cheesesteak after that, whether it's provolone, whether it's whiz, cheese whiz, whatever, that to me is up to you. Okay. But the skeleton needs to be an. So there's a place here called From Philly. Oddly enough, the fellow is from Philly, and they have this dope machine where they bake their Amorosa rolls real time.
Oh,
And all of their hoagies and everything else is made from Dietz and Watson goods,
that's
which
good.
is
Okay.
huge in the East Coast. It's fantastic out here, and now we're starting to see Dietz and Watson in our local grocery store. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
I'm really glad to hear that you actually understand what goes into a good cheesesteak. And I can tell you that I've lived, a couple blocks, from gyms for the last like 12 years. And I can tell you that I've probably had a cheesesteak maybe 4 times in that time frame because it's
Right.
always with
Well,
people that are visiting or
sure, sure.
yeah, yeah.
But also similar to In-N-Out Burger out here, you can only have so many before you die.
Fair point.
So choose when you're going to have a cheesesteak.
Oh my God.
Very careful.
Yeah, going into In-N-Out Burger. Every time I'm on the West Coast, it's like it's a
So
it's a visit.
it is. And I will say this as a native Californian who lived on the East Coast. Okay. I spent almost every other weekend in Philly when I lived in Jersey. I love Philly that much. So In-N-Out is not the best burger, people. It's just that it's consistent every single time, and it hasn't changed since 1966. It's the exact same menu. The only thing that's changed is the flavors of the sodas, really,
Fair
because of
point.
whatever is available. So,
Um,
okay,
all
so
right, so
big buckets, where to start? This is
yeah,
where
yeah.
I wanted, right?
Okay.
So, if we're going to start to talk about agentic anything, um, and I'm using that because it's the latest marketing term, even though I throw up in my mouth a little bit when I hear it because I've been in AI for a very long time. Um, we mentioned managing by exception out front. So the fastest way to determine what to do is to know what you should not and cannot do. So my checklist starts with first, what should not be automated? What things are we not allowed to use large language models on? What things need to stay the way they are because the technology isn't there yet? There's some process, there's some function, there's some job that you just simply, humans must do that job. Identify those processes first, because then now we're going to move to the next layer of exceptions. What cannot be automated? There's just simply some stuff that can't be automated. It just tech is where the tech is. Okay. I'm sorry, it takes two hands and a heartbeat to put bare metal into a rack. We cannot automate cleaning the floors just quite yet. right? There's certain things we have to do. So that's going to allow you to push those things, but you can classify those what can't be done due to legal reasons, what can't be done due to regulatory reasons, and what can't be done because they're high risk. These are your relationship facing things. Your legal aspects, stuff like that. And then now that we know what we can do, you want to prioritize those two things. And this is what I choose to prioritize because it always delivers the fastest returns on investment, whether I'm investing time, resources, or looking into a new platform and putting capital out there. Who needs the most help? What needs the most scaling? Robots scale like nothing else, and they scale consistently until they don't. And then the humans got to fix it, like we talked about at the beginning.
And it's I'll give you just a personal example of like, we went from we're building out our dark factory and finding out ways to extend our SDLC so that agents take on more and more of the work and help the humans kind of stay in that judgment role, but also focused on the bigger ticket items. And you go from, a couple merges a week to, 30, 40 a day. And now your exceptions are greatly more than what the even initial work was.
Right,
And so you start looking at like, how do I actually build out the process so it's both throwing less exceptions, and additionally, how do I have agents also helping me to handle the exceptions as well? And I think
exactly.
there's kind of like that dual stage growth of what actually happens, but you can get more work done, but now you also have to have a team that can, grow from being that senior engineer to now being a senior manager as well. And I'm seeing that the technical side of this and the managerial side, right? Like you and I growing up both had the choice of going down the managerial path or the technical path. And
Right,
sometimes there's that chief architect role that kind of fits that both happy medium of both spaces, but you're still managing people and managing technical deliverables. Today I'm seeing that kind of being combined where, me as a technologist is exceptional at building stuff with AI and workflows with
right.
AI that is for technology. Whereas like, my friends in finance or my friends in operations, they can drive an AI to build out processes in their domains in far better than what I can as a technologist or
Well, fintech has been doing AI the longest
yeah.
from a practical standpoint. I mean, we've had algorithmic trading since 2002, 2003.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, but
so
that's
at least
yeah, I mean, we're talking
algorithm.
different flavors of
Oh yeah,
where we're talking about. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
even if
So,
you're talking about expert systems, that's a flavor of
mm,
AI. We're talking
absolutely,
about neural
absolutely.
networks, that's a different flavor, but they're rather narrow domain kind of
There
spaces.
are, and we, in the podcast sphere, me being a guest, an honored guest. Thanks for having me back. As an expert in automation specifically, like someone that reads the BA Bach from PMI, which is the business analysis body of knowledge, that's my joy to read. Like I'm that nerd. I'm
Okay.
the there's always going to be new tech. So you know we have to remove the FOMO because it's noise, it's not signal. If you're hearing about a tool, especially now, if you're hearing about a tool or so many prompts or download this ebook on how to do something, you're already behind that person that's asserting themselves on whatever social media platform as an expert. Or let's go take these critical thinking classes that MIT and Harvard are throwing up for $6,500 to give you a certificate and only advance you maybe 20% of the way you need to go, but give you a beautiful thing for some soon to be completely automated HR person, digital HR person to say, yes, I'll move forward with an interview with you, because there's no greater risk to a company than to keep making the hiring decisions based on someone who doesn't do the job. Look, we've been through this transition before. I'll give you three prime examples. And we're of an age now that we can look back and seen this, okay? the computer age, the home computer age, the thing we're talking on right now. Where's it? Where's my laptop? Give me a second. I mean, I'm on my laptop, but I wanted to show the cell phone. Our cell phones cost as much as a high-end laptop because they're high-end laptops.
Absolutely.
They're just miniaturized.
I mean,
Okay.
look at the
So,
new Mac
so,
Neo versus the
right,
iPhone, the
right.
same chip.
Absolutely. Or let's just say iPhone 1 to now,
Oh yeah.
right? We no longer have cameras. Kodak gone. Whole industries disappeared overnight. With it, tens of millions of metric tons of horrible chemicals that were going into our rivers, lakes, streams, and oceans to process all of that film. That disappeared too. Not a lot of people think about that. I talked about in our last episode that the automotive industry was completely transformed. Well, there's your number one automation example. Quality went up, cost went down, humans became the most important focal point for QA and teaching the robots how to do their job. Less humans, better quality, more cars consistently.
Yeah.
We are in that transition. Desktop publishing. Now, here's my thing about real quick, just the content creation side, right? The LLMs are, that bubble is bursting, and I'll let that be. However, that's going to be a highly opinion. I might as well say, Islam is greater than Christianity or something like that. Like it's going to be a huge religious civil war in the marketplace over generative AI. Okay, but
I'm gonna jump in on that because I think
do it.
you're hitting on a point where the model itself is no longer becoming the strongest point of the AI kind of like
Not
growth
even at
path
all.
here,
Right.
right? Like the model itself is becoming almost interchangeable between any of the frontier models, and it's becoming more important the harness that you put it into. So the application space of the model and how it fits
Yeah.
into its, agentic loop, its memory
Right.
layer, the additional
Thank
context
you. Thank you.
is going to be a point of explosion next. I think it's not a
Right.
space where we see AI as what people talk about it, right? Like, because
Mhm.
most of the business users will not differentiate the LLM from the harness that it's in.
Not even at all.
Yeah.
Not even at all. So when we had ubiquity in computing in the late 90s, and then we added the internet,
Yeah.
then we had ubiquity in broadband, which came much later than most people think. AOL discs were still being out there by 2012, y'all. You could still do AOL. Well, 2010. But now everyone's got a cable modem in their pocket with 5G.
Yep.
So I need whoever's watching this to remember it is still less than 20 years since everybody had cable internet. It's maybe 10 years since people have had ubiquitous, generally fast business internet and fast internet in their homes. Only 10 years.
Yeah.
That's not a long time. So now we're at that time where we're trying to send everything out to the cloud. And similar to having Microsoft 365, which used to be $650 a year for a license per person, you would put everything on your computer. Now that can be all out in the cloud. Now we're going to see a pushback from things that need to go on the endpoints because it's that transit to the cloud, that delay that is keep making the data centers bigger and bigger and bigger and more and more and more. We literally, as human beings, until we get to a trinary or a quadary system, we're in binary systems right now. Until we advance to quantum ubiquitousness, it'll take 30 years. Okay. There will never be enough data centers ever built. There will never be enough storage ever built. There will never be enough network based on what we have right now. So everything's got to come out to the endpoint, which changes how we do stuff and how we think about stuff.
Yeah.
So we're at that inflection point. So like you're saying, these models are now suddenly becoming, well, I use Google Office. You use Microsoft Office, it doesn't matter. I use Open Office, whatever. The formats are interchangeable, the models are interchangeable. When everybody started being able to do PowerPoint and use clip art, we saw less people paying for graphic designers to do internal business communications. Internal business communications are now done by generative AI, and it's just good enough. It's good enough to stay internal. If I'm a small business, I now don't have to pay $5,000 for a logo design. I now don't have to go to an agency that I can't afford to start up my bicycle repair service or my plumbing truck. I now have the ability to, instead of in the late 90s, early aughts, go get an $85,000 small business loan so I could get a server website and all this stuff and then hire all these people to do all of these things. This is just that next reduction of overhead. So as we approach that Star Trekian-like phase, what are humans really going to do? Our education system has to switch from being a supercomputer that puts out normal office workers from the late 1980s and early 1990s, it's still geared at, to people that think, act, and talk like they're their own CEOs and they're going to a brand, like if they're an internal employee or a vendor, and they're going to treat themselves as, I'm here for this project. And at the end of that project, I need to earn my way into another project or find my way to another business. Like, this is the shift that is here. This is the acceleration that agentic has. You have to have that gig mindset. Thanks.
You've given me a lot to think about on that one,
I'm sorry.
and
This is what happens when we ramble, man. Like,
I
I'm so
know.
sorry.
It's all good, man. I actually I really appreciate it because it just gets the wheels thinking, and, we are
But, but,
driving
but
down to that
I
business of
said all that to
one.
say this. Yeah, I said all that to say this. We're in a place now where yet another reduction point. It happened in the automotive industry. It happened in when we got mobile phones, right? There's no more landlines anymore. Right? I mean, you can have one, but nobody uses a fax anymore. We have email, right?
Very few
Like
companies
like
now.
this is that transition where the there are no more bullshit jobs. You don't need a receptionist. You need an engagement person, right? You don't need someone to take this piece of paper or this stack of stuff and then walk it over. It's like Office Space.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't need another cover on my TPS report.
No, 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 and it's definitely like you
I,
said
I
before,
broke your
it's
brain.
giving.
I broke your brain. I'll shut up now. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, no, no. Well,
Not a
it's not
sponsor.
even the breaking the brain. There's like 5 different conversations I wanna have with you, and it's like, how do I sequence them to come out in a somewhat natural way, but at the same time, like, that's the joy of having these conversations is we can just literally play off of where it goes or what's happening. And so one of the areas that I think we can touch on is, like you said, we're taking away the jobs that, the computer should be doing anyways, right? We're actually allowing ourselves to
Yeah.
be more human. The idea that you're talking about is a trend that's been going on for the last couple of decades of companies are getting smaller. We're
For decades.
outsourcing services, right? Like
Yeah.
we've been doing that for a while. There's the opportunity to create a small business is going, closer and closer. We've seen over the last 15 years, some companies were able to build up to, $10 million worth of revenue with one employee kind of thing. We're seeing that happen more and more
Yeah.
often now. And additionally, like AI first companies, instead of being like, let's see, what, like 150 to $200,000 per employee, like revenue numbers, they're starting at 600,000. So you're
Right.
seeing multiplication in the productivity that employees can gain by being AI first organizations. And that's just going to continue to compound. And you've given us some good ideas around like, hey, here's the things that you shouldn't be automating. Here's the things that always need that human touch. But also, you're talking about a world in which, you look at yourself as being like a gig worker. You look at yourself as being that kind of like, hey, I'm part of this team for this project. I'm bringing along my expertise. I'm likely bringing along some of the agents that help me do the work as well, because that's part of the, the value add that you're bringing. And then additionally, like you're kind of just plugging into places and going. So now we're talking about a much more fluid type of economy of where, hey, I could
Yeah.
actually deliver the joy that I deliver to this world in a relatively stable space, but also you've got to know yourself in those places.
You
And maybe
do.
we get back to the
And that's
tattoo
what
of
I'm
killing the ego.
kill the ego, feed the soul, kill the ego, feed the soul. That's the whole statement. I just didn't have room for it. The every time we remove ourselves as a part of the solution, we have an opportunity, especially as leaders, we have an opportunity to solve the problem faster or give the problem to somebody else who's much more of an expert at it to solve it
Yeah.
for us. So when you have that mindset, especially as a leader, leaders, if I tell someone this is how I want you to solve the problem, they'll do it. But you are stealing efficiency, time, and you're ripping yourself off from their expertise when you do that. You have every right in the world to do that. Now, as a technical leader, it's our job to ask questions. And that's what makes us professional assholes.
That's a
Because
great way. I
when,
think that's
when someone comes to me and says, hey, da 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 da, and I will tell them, everybody can complain. Come to me with a solution. Anybody can complain. I'll go to Starbucks. I'll find 10 people complaining right now. Tell me how you think this needs to be solved. Because I'm not paying you to hear you whine. I'm not paying you to hear how you're uncomfortable. I'm paying you to tell me we've got a problem and here's what I think we can do to solve it.
I think that is actually a great place for us to kind of wrap the conversation.
Sure.
I like absolutely love it. It's the nice little cherry on top that
Aw.
basically defines what we need to be doing as people in organizations is looking at
Yeah.
how we can help to advance our, the judgment that we have, bring our expertise into it and showcase that like we are here to solve problems. And like you identify the problem and that's it. And like we can turn that into workflows, we can turn that into automations, we can turn that into something that people can actually delegate to the agents, to the organization. But it is that gift that humanity has is like, hey, we found a problem, we can bring a solution to it.
What if I told you very, very soon layoffs should be a thing of the past?
All right, we're not going to end. Okay, what's the go for it?
No, we can end. We no, no. I'm just let's drop a seat. I'm just saying, if
Yeah,
everybody
drop
is
the seat. Okay.
contributing, if everybody's contributing, right, to the solution, there's no justification for a layoff.
I'm it's funny you say that. Yeah, I can actually agree with that. I've been on enough change management projects and also technology transformations that there's always a line item for how many people you can reduce from the business, right? And working with
Right.
Fortune 50 companies, like that number was always significant.
Always.
I can tell you in, 20 some years, I've never been a part of a project that actually produced layoffs because there was
Nope.
always more work to be done and more value to be added to the customer that they needed those people who understood the organization, understood the business, and like would be able to transition to that space. So, Mateo, from my heart, man, absolutely love being able to hang out with you and grateful that we got a chance to just record this ad hoc episode. So,
I know that I'm now reading the room, and I'm supposed to shut the hell up so we can
fine,
end
man.
the episode. Take care. Thanks for watching, and stay awesome.